Hey, what's up, guys? So, like I was thinking maybe at the end of the last video, once I get going, the juices start flowing, and I start to think of maybe a couple more things that I want to talk about, or at least that I want to share. And this clip is going to be about a couple of books that I really enjoyed that I remember being pretty influential. And this may not be the best execution because it would probably be more useful to you all if I, if I was going to do a topic, if I, read, it got brushed back up on each of the books and then, kind of like studied back up on it, had specific notes to share. So I'm sure that would be much more professional and useful to anyone who happened to stumble across this video. But that is not the case. I'm just trying to get some thoughts out there, get some positivity into the world, and share hopefully some good ideas. Again, just some things that I've seen, really enjoyed, and would think that anyone who came across them might enjoy them as well. So, without further ado, here are three books that I found very influential and really enjoyed, and I think is worth your time as well. Depend, I don't know what you do with your time, but if you um, like reading and improving who you are as a person, then here's a couple more to add to your list. So, number one is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So, super short book. It was something that I read maybe right after high school, maybe the first couple of years after high school. And I don't remember all of the specific concepts in it, but I do remember kind of reading it, and it was one of those like paradigm shifting type of books that just gave you some concepts that you're like, wow, I can pretty much use these to just improve myself as a person. And I want to say that the main uh, takeaway, or if I were to have to sum it up in a very simple concept, that the takeaway, honestly, and it sounds super basic, but is just listening, right? And so basically, his whole thesis, again, how to win friends and influence people, how to get people to like you, is to be a good listener, right? And so he has some examples in the book of just when you meet someone at a cocktail party, or the example I actually remember is he was saying, he remembers as a kid, um, his mom had a friend who came over and played with him for a little bit. He was playing with trains, and so his mom's friend was just only he was asking about his trains, and he was interested in the trains, and he was just going on and on, and he was getting Dale to get going and get talking about trains, which was the subject that he was super interested in at the time as a young kid. And all this guy did was, maybe ask a question, just listen, listen, listen. And when he left, he thought, man, he thought this was the coolest guy I'd ever met. Um, and it turned out that the guy hadn't said anything about himself that made him think he was cool. It was just that he was so interested and got him talking about the subjects that were interesting to him, that it then he kind of reflected that back and projected that back on the guy, that wow, he's asking about all these things that I like, therefore I like this guy, right? So that was, I remember, just the biggest concept I took away is, and I feel like I don't remember if I was this way before having read that book, but I think in a significant way afterwards. I've always, or not always, but in social situations, I think I tend to try to get the other person talking about something they're interested in, and just ask probing or open-ended questions, and really like be interested in their story. And it's not even from a fake or superficial way. It's just the fact of there's a lot of kind of aphorisms or expressions about if the other person's talking. Now I know twice as much because I know what he's saying and I know what I know, right? So I've just found that to be an interesting way to navigate through life, and a fair amount of it was inspired by that little book. So definitely worth the read. And the next book worth mentioning is a book by the name of Never Split the Difference. So this one's pretty popular right now. I know a lot of salespeople I know, or guys in real estate, have listened to or read this book, and this was also one I consumed a while back. And honestly, like, it's funny to bring it up on the heels of How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it almost feels like that book, but on steroids, right? It feels like taking that, because it's all about negotiation. The author Chris Voss was the head of the FBI negotiation team, hostage negotiation team. This guy's world class in that realm, and 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 it feels, again, kind of like I said, it feels like a hardcore sequel to How to Win Friends and Influence People, because now it's not just about getting people to like you, it's about getting a result that you want, and a lot of times under pressure, under stress, with high stakes. And so but a lot of, weirdly enough, a lot of similar tools seem to be at play, which is just these, and he gives many little tactical tools for your tool belt when it comes to negotiation. But some of it is about getting people to warm up to you and to like you, or giving people opportunities to talk themselves into the negotiating position that you want them in. And a big part of that is listening and not speaking, and allowing there to be open airtime for them to take up that space and to speak, and again to kind of negotiate themselves into the position that you want them in, or to give out enough information that you are able to pick up on what he calls a black swan, which is basically that little nugget, that little hidden piece of information that once the other party has revealed it, now you have a position of strength. And if you want good examples of that, or you want the real tactics, consume the book. I think it's worth it. And the next book, or kind of book or two, that is on my list is Millionaire Next Door. And so this is a kind of a topic switch. Again, those first two are kind of along a similar theme, but this third book, different, but just one I enjoyed and felt like it was kind of an affirmation of certain habits, or attitudes I had about handling money or building wealth or anything along those lines. And so again, very very popular book. So I would imagine most people have come across it, that might be stumbling upon this video, but it's an in-depth study at the time, of wealthy people in the United States, and it's just it describes it's a composition of their habits, their characteristics, the types of work they're in, how long they've been in that work, the type of marriages they have, how many kids, how they treat their kids. I mean, just a lot of very interesting concepts, and I remember just being motivating to listen to it, before heading into the workforce, and thinking, cool, these are some ideas I'm going to try and retain as I head into the workforce, and try to carve out my little piece of the pie and build some wealth on my own. And just as a funny little side note, this was a book I recommended to a buddy of mine, an acquaintance, a guy I really admire, similar age, and a guy in a friend group, regardless, and he's doing some things I'm very very impressed with. And he posted about it on, or he so I recommended this. Well, it was so what I gave him a copy of, not Millionaire Next Door, but it was the follow-up book to that, which was Millionaire Mind, which I actually also, I mean, I enjoyed just as much because it was not just about now just anyone who had made some amount of wealth. It was about this next level of wealthy people. What differentiated these people who attained a certain level of wealth? And so I lent it to him, and he was really enjoying it and made a post about some information he had seen in this book. And it was like about grade point averages, and it was, hey, the average millionaire um, got a 2 point average of a 2.9 GPA in college, right? This statistics kind of like that, right? And one of the comments on this social media post that he had made, someone jumps in and made some kind of dismissive comment about how well how basically being a millionaire isn't that impressive is what this guy was saying, and I don't remember what kind of the metric he was using, but it was like, hey, in today's world, this percentage of people attain that level of wealth. Really, all you have to have is like a 401k with a little bit of money in it and own a home, right? And so what I wanted to say was, hey, man, this book or this book was written 30 years ago, or the study was done even longer ago. Like, are we not counting for inflation, right? Millionaire back then would have been someone who's maybe worth tens of millions today, or someone who is worth $1 million today may not have been in the study back then, because we're not, you're talking in terms of today's dollars and not not adjusting for inflation. So that's just a little side note. I'm getting on a bit of a tangent, but that's another great book that I think that one I listened to back in school and got a lot out of it. So there you go. There's 3 books that I would recommend to pretty much anyone. And it was How to Win Friends and Influence People, Never Split the Difference, and Millionaire Next Door, with the follow-on book, Millionaire Mind, which is also great. So anyhow, hope you guys are all doing well. And if you have any book recommendations, anything similar to any of those, please drop them in the comments. I'm always looking for ways to keep expanding different compartments of my brain. So thank you to anyone who is watching, and have a great evening.